times. Praise the Lord every night. That would be all right. That was for me. But come on, praise the Lord everybody. Come on, let everything that has breath praise the name of the Lord. Hallelujah. Bless your wonderful name. 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 Hallelujah. Glory to God. While I got you standing by, we'll go ahead and get right on into where we're going. Go to Exodus, the 4th chapter, real quick. Exodus chapter 4. Glory to God. Exodus chapter 4. Exodus chapter 4. Glory to God. Glory to God. Glory to God. Glory to God. Hallelujah. There's a sweet spirit in this place on today. There's just a sweet anointing, a sweet spirit in this place on today. Exodus, the 4th chapter, starting at the 1st verse. The Bible declares, then Moses answered and said, but suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say the Lord has not appeared to you. So the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? He said, a rod. Glory to God, glory to God. Last week when I was before you, I had the privilege of being before you. You may be seated. Amen. God had me to speak to you and tell you that it's time to get in position. Amen. And then in Bible study, amen, man of God, he echoed some of the same sentiments as he began to tell us that there's some suffering that goes along with being in position. Amen. But there's something he said as he began to close on Wednesday night that really pierced my spirit and really got me to thinking and really got me to praying, which is what led to what God has given me today. He began to talk about our potential. Amen. Began to talk about our potential. And so as I began to pray with the man of God, said, I'm going to have you go today. I said, okay. And I began to pray, and God said, unlock their potential. Amen. We have been sitting in this holding pattern called potential for way too long. Yeah. So let's define what potential is, so we're all on the same page. I know we have a concept of what potential is, but let's really understand what potential is. Amen. 2 definitions I pulled that really spoke to me. Potential means that which is possible as opposed to what is actual. The second definition says capable of being or becoming. So when you're dealing with something that is potential, it means, first of all, you have not really realized it yet. Amen. It ain't there. You ain't got it. But the benefit, or not the benefit, the hope in potential is that you can become. That's right. Amen. Just because it has not realized itself yet does not mean it's never coming. That's right. Amen. And so I dealt with Moses because this is where God brought me to, because it was interesting, this conversation. Moses and God are having this conversation concerning his destiny. And God is telling Moses, I called you to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And all throughout chapter 3, he is articulating to him what he wants to do and how he's going to do it, and all these wonderful things. And at the beginning of chapter 4, Moses starts off by saying, hold on, God, wait a second now. What if these folks don't believe me? What if I go? Oh, thank you, God. What if I go and they don't receive who don't you understand? But these folks think of me. I ain't really got no home, Moses, God. That's why I had to leave. I really don't have a home. See, the Egyptians, they look at me as this raggedy little Hebrew boy they got to play dress up for a few years. I really didn't belong with them, but I got to have a costume party and be a part of their clan for a little while. But now I'm on the outside, so they won't receive me. And the Hebrews, oh God, you know what the Hebrews think of me? They think I'm just some Uncle Tom who just jumped on ship, and I am, because I was one of those who helped oppress them for a long time, even though they were my own. Right. So how can these people receive who I am? Well, not realizing that when God gives you a mission, God is so strategic that he's already intricately planned out every possible event that would happen to you. So he was ready for the people not to receive him right away. That's right. That's right. That's right. This is where God loves to prove himself and show himself. That's right. And so all he said to Moses, what's in your hand? Now, the last time I heard a preacher preach this, great man of God, good word, he preached this text. He focused on the rod itself. The rod being the thing that was in Moses' hand. Because that's what Moses said. That's in my hand. It's a rod. But I come to realize, while I studied and prayed, and God began to give me some revelation, the rod is irrelevant. It didn't matter what he had in his hand.
That's right.
He could have had a flag in his hand. He could have had some grass in his hand. Didn't matter what was in his hand. God was trying to give him a point of focus.
That's right.
Because if you go a little further down in the chapter, what you'll find is, when God, after Moses says, I have a rod in my hand, God says, toss the rod down. The rod becomes a snake, right?
Yeah.
And after the rod becomes a snake, God says, now grab the tail. He grabs the tail and it becomes a rod again. Now you would think the anointing is in the rod. Until God then says, now take your hand, not the rod, take your hand and lay it on your bosom. And he said, then pull it off. When he pulled it off, his hand was covered with leprosy. Then God said, now take your hand again and put it back on your bosom. Puts it on his bosom, takes it back off, and now his hand is healed. That's because his potential was in him and not in the rod. Too often times in the body of Christ, what we have done is we have begun looking outside of God and outside of ourselves for the thing that he placed inside us.
Amen.
We're looking for this person to do it, or that person to do it. We're looking for this thing to happen, or that thing to happen, or we're looking for this miracle, or that. God said, wait a second, I put it in you.
Amen.
The reason God wants you to get in position is so that he can unlock the potential in you, so your potential becomes actualized.
Yeah.
It has to be actualized. So, what I also want you to understand is that your potential, the thing that God has in you, is custom made.
Yes.
It took me a while to get this one. It took me a while in my growth and just trying to walk this thing out to catch this was custom made. See, when you grow up in church like I did, and they quote unquote groom you for this, like they did. First thing you think is you got to start sounding like other folk, because you see the folk who's successful, so you do the things. I remember when I was a kid when we had this one play in particular, and I got to play Bishop Park, who was our pastor. So I got to walk down the aisle dressed like him. I got one of my father's big old rings, because he had this huge ring on one hand, and it never really fit, so it worked. So every time he would shake his hand, it would just sway back and forth. I wore this white suit, and I came down, I got to sit in this chair. And when I got up, because it was just a church play, I was supposed to preach like him, I got up, and the first thing I said was, what a day of rejoicing. What a day for praising the Lord. Can't you see what God has done for us? And the victory he's won for us. This is the day that the Lord has made. So come magnify the Lord with me. Because when he got to so come magnify the Lord, that's where his voice would go up like that, almost like he's losing his breath. And I began to imitate him. And I began to imitate him continually. So that even when I started teaching Sunday school, I sounded like him. And I don't mean like the things that he taught would come out of me. I mean, I was actually trying to sound like him. So if you close your eyes, you would hear him and not me. You would see his mannerisms in me. Right. You would see his actions when I did things. I was trying to imitate him. It wasn't until I got to college so I began to realize that what God is placing you is for you.
That's right.
It's custom made. He fitted, fashioned it, and designed it for you.
Amen.
So, I heard what my mother in the gospel, Evangelist Nicole Carter. Y'all don't know her, but I like calling her name. That's my mama. She would say, when I had my first young adult conference about 7 years ago, she closed off her portion, because I had it as one of my speakers. She closed off her portion by saying this. I want you to do this. Because it's made so much sense to me. I like being practical. She said, everybody take your first finger and hold it up in the air. Take your first finger, hold it up in the air. Then she said, turn around and just look at it. She said, on your finger is this thing called a fingerprint. This fingerprint is unique to you. No one in the course of human history has ever had your print. And no one in the course of human history will ever have your print. This is how much God thinks about you.
That's right.
They fashioned something so unique that it will only point to you.
Wow.
But then, God began to expand this thing. Because if you cut off your limbs, arms, your legs, let's even take out your teeth. Because they can identify you by your dental work now.
Right.
Take out all those things. There's still something on the inside of you called DNA.
Right.
And if you drop a piece of blood anywhere in the world,
Amen.
they'll know you were there.
Amen.
And they have it to such a degree that when they look deep enough, they know it specifically because no one has your DNA markers.
Amen.
Now, family may have some markers, familiar markers, where if they only look at the surface, they don't know if it's me or my brother, but they know the family.
Amen.
And so what happens is, while we're trying to unlock our potential, we wind up being so close to people that we're connected to that sometimes people can't tell one from the other.
Right.
But God said, I need you to go deeper so that people will only see what I've custom fit for you. So Moses, what's in your hand is really what's in you.
Amen.
What have I placed inside you
Amen.
to do what I called you to do? What have I given unto you
Yes.
that will help unlock the purpose for your life?
Amen.
What is that you got? And what I found interesting about Moses is Moses did what a lot of us as church folk do. He followed God. God said, I called you to do. Oh no, will they believe me? But Moses, I called you. Can't you send somebody else? But Moses, I called you.
Amen.
And so he has this back and forth with God.
Yes.
And this is what I want to keep us from doing. To the point where God wound up getting so angry with him, he said, fine, Moses, do it your way, but you still got to do it. You worried about whether or not you can speak or not. Fine, cool, no problem. You got your boy Aaron. He knows how to talk.
That's right.
I ain't going to deal with him, though. I'm going to put the word in your mouth. If you choose to, you tell him, he can tell folks. But I'm calling you, not him. Now, you want to bring him along, go ahead and bring him along. If you won't bring him along, but I called you.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes we try to drag some people with us because we want to be comfortable in it. But God has only fit this thing just for you.
Amen.
The potential is yours.
That's right.
The thing to unlock is yours. How you get to it is God saying it's you. So God gave me 4 ways to recognize this thing, because the biggest thing in the body of Christ is, how do I know my potential? How do I recognize this? How do I deal with this? How do I go to this? Because we all know, we've been in church long enough, we all called by God to do something.
Amen.
We all have something on the inside of us He wants us to do.
Amen.
Or some things inside of us He wants us to do. But a lot of us have absolutely no idea how to get to. So God gave you 4 things you have to recognize. Simply 4 things. You must recognize in order to be like Moses and say, this is what's in my hand.
Amen.
Number 1, you have to recognize what you have. Moses recognized he had the rod. You have to recognize what you have. Most people will say, well, how do I recognize what I have? Very simple. 3-word sentence. Excuse me, 2-word sentence, really. Ask God.
That's right.
Go to Jeremiah, the 29th chapter, 11th verse. Christian cliche alert. One we have heard forever.
Yep.
Spoke about and dealt with forever. Countless number of sermons have been on this thing forever. Go on Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 13. The Bible says, for I know the thoughts I think towards you, says the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you, and you will seek me and find me when you search for me with your whole heart.
Amen.
The problem is not that we're not asking God, because I know a whole slew of folk right now in my mind. I got a Rolodex in my mind. People say, but I seek God all the time. I'm praying all the time. I'm asking God all the time. He didn't say just ask him. He didn't say just seek him.
Yes.
He said you got to do it with your whole heart.
Amen.
When you recognize what you have by God telling you what you have, because it says, I know the thoughts I have towards you. I think it's the King James version says, I know the plans I have towards you. Or flip that, so I know the plans. The King James says, I know the thoughts. Both are the same concept. Right. I know what I got for you. This is what I have in store for you. I'm just waiting on you to come find me. Amen. And this goes into what the man of God was saying before we started service. This is why it's so important that we pray. Amen. If you don't seek God, really earnestly seek God, you'll be a misplaced cog in the wheel. Amen. Jesus. God has his way of revealing to us when we seek him. Understand now, seeking means you got to do it more than once. Amen. It's not always going to be, oh, Father God, when you show me, God, okay, cool. Oh, wow, look, there it is. No. You have to really seek. How bad do you want to know? Amen. When I say how bad do you want to know, what are you willing to give up to do? Amen. Are you willing to give up time on your phone, or time in front of television, or time with your friends, or better yet, are you willing to give up your plate? Are you willing to call a fast for yourself till you hear from God? Amen. I know. I just cussed at some of y'all. Some of y'all are fast. I'm not putting down. I like food way too much. But then go ahead and be the misplaced cog in the wheel. Amen. And you will never realize the potential that's in you. Because one of the saddest things in life is unrealized potential. Amen. Amen. People who don't recognize what's in them. I deal with some young ladies all the time. I counsel a lot. And they always say, I want a man with potential. Mm-hmm. I say to them, no, you don't. Yeah, I want to do with some potential. I said, no, you want to do who's realizing his potential. Well, because if you want to do with potential, he can stay in potential all day long. Amen. In New York, you can go to almost any street corner and find you some singers. Man of God was talking about my favorite group, my second favorite group actually of all time. My favorite modern day group, Boys to Men, love them. So I'm so glad you liked it. They were my second favorite group of all time. First is Jackson 5, just in case anybody was wondering. If you go to New York, there are 15 different singing groups on any corner that sound better than them. They got potential. You ain't never heard of them. They ain't realize their potential. My oldest brother, I'm getting so much trouble when he sees this. My oldest brother is one of the baddest praise and worship leaders I know. And I'm not saying that because he's my brother, because I've met some serious praise and worship leaders over the course of my lifetime. This boy is anointed to do praise and worship. Plays, sings the whole nine. Unrealized potential. I love him to pieces. Dynamic man of God when he realizes his potential, but just dips his toe way too often. Instead of saying, God, show me me. And when I say God, show me me, I'm not talking about the version of yourself that you think you are. Wow. God, show me how you see, because real truthfully, a lot of us, we see ourselves way worse than who we really are. Amen. I know that was one of my issues, and still sometimes my issue. I see myself way worse than God sees me. God's like, yeah, you made a mistake, but do you recognize that nothing is escaped my attention? I knew you were going to make that mistake beforehand. I had already made provision for it. I was trying to show you something in it. I'm trying to help you out of it. I'm trying to work your way through it. Go left, go right. Here you go. Now see, look there. I already did what I needed to do for it. But God, don't you know I messed up? I know. I brought you to that place to bring some things out of you. That's right. Because you don't see what I see. Jesus. And if you can only see yourself how God sees you, you want to recognize what's in you. And when you recognize what's in you, you're one step closer to unlocking that potential. Amen. Number 2. This one sounds kind of easy. It's one that's often said, but we really don't do it. Recognize who you are. So if you ask any Christian, any church-going, Bible-believing Christian, who are you? One of the first things they'll say is, I am a child of God. I am a kingdom citizen. I am blessed and highly favored by the Lord. I am a member of the body of Christ. I am a disciple. We say all those things, but do you recognize all those things are titles? They're not really who you are. They're a title, not your definition.
Come on now.
It's just the same like when we call God, God, and we think God is God's name, and God is not God's name. God told Moses, my name is I am. God is his title, it's like Jehovah. All the Jehovah's that folks say, that was listening to a song on the way here, that this is all Jehovah. I'm like, why can't we just say God, my provider, said Jehovah Jireh? I'm just saying. I know it's a couple more words, but it's a lot easier to say.
Amen.
You being a child of God is your title, not your definition.
Amen.
So have you ever wondered who you are? There's actually a biblical definition. Go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. 1 Peter, chapter 2, starting at the 9th verse. And the Bible says, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, who once were not a people, but are now the people of God, who had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. This is who you are.
Amen.
First of all, you're chosen.
Amen.
God did not make a mistake when he called you. I must say that again because some of us think that sometimes when God calls us to do something, he ain't talking about me. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe I was the only one who said that to God when God told me to do what he told me to do. No, God, I know you can find somebody better than you. You must have chose wrong. You were chosen specifically by God. He did not make a mistake. The first definition you need to understand, you were chosen.
Amen.
Then he says you are royal. I know it says royal priesthood, but you have to understand what royalty is first.
Yes.
Royalty is a place and a position in life. Is a position in life that has the ability to command earthly things.
Jesus.
When a king speaks, people listen.
Yes.
When a king speaks, when somebody in royalty begins to speak, things in the earth begin to move.
Yes.
Things in the earth begin to shift. I've never heard a king speak over his kingdom and the kingdom not move.
My God.
So he says you're royalty, which means you have an authority in the earth. But wait a second, you're not only royalty, but you are a royal priesthood. The priests in the Old Testament, they were the ones who had the ability to go to God. They were the ones who had the ability, along with the prophets, to speak things in the spirit realm. So what God is saying, I'll give you authority both in heaven and in the earth.
Wow. Amen.
To unlock your potential, you have to understand that everything is waiting for you to open your mouth.
Amen.
Everything is waiting for you to do some action that God has called you to do.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
People are waiting. Souls are waiting. Disease are waiting to be healed and cured. Disease are waiting to flee. Dead people are waiting to raise. Things are waiting to shake up.
My God.
But we're sitting on our potential. Then he says, you're peculiar. I like the King James Version that says you're peculiar. The reason I like the word peculiar, because peculiar people stand out. Stop trying to fit in. You cannot actualize and realize your potential fitting in. Whatever your weird is, be that.
Amen.
God designed you to be that.
Amen.
God created you to be that.
Yes.
He said you're a peculiar people.
Amen.
I called you to stand out.
Amen.
And I've given you the purpose of proclaiming my praises to people. To let people know that I called you out of darkness into marvelous light.
Amen.
And I called you to do that in the own specific way. I've custom designed for you. See, everybody can't do this.
Amen.
And can I tell you the truth? Everybody can't evangelize.
Amen.
Everybody just doesn't have it in them to be able to go out. Now, we're all called to witness. Please understand there's a difference between witnessing and evangelism. I'll leave that alone for right now. Everybody's not called to evangelize. But what you can do is in your own way, the way God has called you to wind up being a light. Some people are a light just simply because they go on the job every day and they smile. And people walk up and say, why? Why are you smiling every day? Because God's good.
That's right.
And they begin to want to know what you know.
Uh-huh.
Let's be honest. You see somebody who got somebody good in their life, they're always smiling and whatnot. You want to know what they're doing with that person, what that person doing, because you want to find somebody that like that. Well, if you're able to be that one of the time people who can just go in and smile all the time, and people start to ask you about why you smile, you say because God is good, they want to start finding out who this God you serve is.
Amen.
I told you. This is your definition.
Yes.
You need to know who you are.
Yes.
Too many of us are walking around not recognizing who we are. Because we don't recognize who we are, we're subject to the enemy's definition of who we are, which means we're subject to the mistakes of our past. We're subject to the stuff we used to do. We're subject to the stuff we're struggling with. We're subject to the stuff we're trying to get over. When God said, I'm not looking at that. I called you this.
Amen.
Recognize who you are.
Yes.
Number 3. Not only do you have to recognize who you are, you must recognize whose you are.
Amen.
Now, I know that's another Christian cliche statement that we say. But you really understand whose you are? Because it's deeper than just belonging to God.
Amen.
It's deeper than just saying, I'm his and he is mine. I love the Marvin Sapp song, he saw the best in me. He is mine, I am his. It doesn't matter what I did. I love that song, but it's deeper than that.
That's right.
Go to Romans, the 8th chapter. In order for Moses to deal in his purpose, to unlock his potential, this is what he had to go through. He had to recognize Romans, the 8th chapter, 16th verse to the 18th verse. And the Bible declares, Romans chapter 8, verses 16 to 18. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. There's our famous statement. We love that. We're children of God. And if we are children, however, then that means we're heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. If indeed we suffer with him, then we also may be glorified together. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
Amen.
God says you're an heir and a joint heir. Do you really understand what that means? Do you understand what it means to be an heir? That means you're entitled to some stuff.
Amen.
See, we think that belonging to God just means that I get to be saved and I get to get into heaven. No, there's some stuff you are entitled to.
Amen.
What we'll consider positive and negative, there's still some stuff we're entitled to. But the Bible goes even further because we're not just heirs, we're joint heirs. Let me tell you why it's so important to understand you're a joint heir and not just an heir. See, my mother has 3 children. My mother and father have 3 children. Me, my 2 older brothers, Joshua and Mel. When they die, if they leave some stuff, they got to divvy it out between the 3 of us according to their will. I may not get the same stuff Joshua and Melvin get, but I'm entitled to something because I'm an heir.
Amen.
But when you are a joint heir, the word joint means I get equal that you get.
That's right.
So everything Jesus is entitled to, I'm entitled to.
Amen.
This is the importance of recognizing whose you are. What name is on your back? I heard this a little while ago and I loved it. I forget who was talking at the time now, but I think it was John Sally. He used to play for the Lakers and he used to talk about his father. And his father would always say to him, now son, it doesn't matter your first name. The name on the front of the jersey don't matter either. What really matters is that name on the back.
Amen.
That name on the back shows who you belong to.
Yes.
That name on the back shows who raised you, who imparted it to you, who you represent. That name on the back of your jersey means everything. It is your legacy. It is your inheritance. It is everything you've got. So God says, check the back of your jersey. Whose name is it? And what that does, it allows you to be able to be partakers with Christ. Yeah. Now that means, just as the man of God taught always, that means you got to suffer some stuff. This ain't a whole bunch of bed of roses, but you got to suffer some stuff. You got to go through some stuff. You got to deal with some stuff. You got to overcome some fights and some attacks. You got to deal with those things. But God said, wait, it's not just the suffering. Because that suffering is not going to be compared to what I got for you, the glory I got revealed on the inside. That's what happens when you recognize whose you are.
Amen.
That's what you mean when you say, I belong to God. It means I got entitled to some stuff He's got for me.
Amen.
And once I start stepping through and walking, actualizing my potential, I can then have access to it. You ain't got your stuff because you ain't actualized your potential.
Jesus.
Last one. And basically done. Last thing you need to recognize is that you have to recognize that you can do it. The biggest hindrance to the body of Christ is the spirit of doubt. I don't think I can do it. It's not knowing what to do. It's not thinking you can do it. Because if we be truly honest with ourselves, we know there's some things we can do.
Yes.
Or excuse me, some things we should do. We just don't think we can do it. If it's placed inside you,
Yes.
let's go to the word and show you. Let me not speak it. Let me show you through the words so you can't say that Jesse said this. Go to our famous scripture, Philippians the 4th chapter and the 13th verse. Most of y'all don't even need to turn to know what it says. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Who can do it?
Christ.
Read that again. Is that up there? I'm so glad that's up there.
I can do it.
I can do all things through Christ. It's through Him, but He ain't doing it. You are. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Let me go ahead real quickly and I'm done. When you recognize when Jesus died on the cross, when He said those famous last words, "It is finished," He meant it. When He said "it is finished," He meant everything I was supposed to do, I've done.
That's right.
So now before I go, I empower you to do greater works. And when you do the greater works, you're going to do them, but you're going to do them in my name.
Amen.
That's what through Christ who strengthens you means. It means you're doing it in the power and the authority of His name, but you're the vessel He's using.
Amen.
My car is a vessel.
Yes.
Excuse me, actually, really, my car, we can really put it this way. My car is not a vessel. My car is more like Jesus. I sit in my car, I turn the car on, but I got to move the car. The car don't drive itself.
That's right.
I'm driving, but the car is moving.
Right.
Jesus is moving, but I'm driving. And all I got to do is pay attention to where He say to go, and I go. And all I got to do is do what He say to do, and I do it. And then I'm the one doing it, but I'm doing it with His strength.
Amen.
You can do. The problem with us is that the reason that we doubt so much is because we put so much on Jesus. But He said, I've already done it all. Now I empower you to do it.
That's right.
It's no different than when Bishop Sneed calls one of us up to pray. He's empowering you to pray. He called you because you can pray. He called you because you can teach. He called you because you can do whatever job it is He's asking you to do it. You can do it. Why is it that God calls us to do stuff and we say, okay, God, let you take over? No, you do the work. I can do all things through Christ
Yes.
who strengthens me.
Yes, Lord.
The power is in you.
Amen.
And since you can do all things, this is my closing statement. I'm going to go back to my mother in the gospel who said this. This statement changed my life, and I pray it changes yours too. She said, when you die, make sure you die empty. Do you understand what that means? That means everything that's in you to try to do it. Because you don't know what gift, what talent is the very thing that God will use to propel His word and prosper your life. So when she says that, she tells the story. Y'all know the story, the poem about the footsteps. Do you know the story behind the poem? Do you know that the author of that poem never published it? It was her niece. She died. Her niece was cleaning out the attic and found the poem. thought it was wonderful enough. She didn't know it was going to turn into this, but thought it was wonderful enough to say, you know what? Somebody else needs to hear this. Do you know how many millions of dollars that poem has generated? Just from something that the aunt didn't think was really worth anything, which is why it was buried in the attic. What is in you that you're neglecting because you don't know what's in your hand? Y'all are old enough to remember the pet rock? Y'all do know it was a rock, right? Something you can go outside in the ground and find and pick up. But there's a dude who made millions of dollars because he put the word pet in front of rock and sent it to you. Pet rock. These young millennials, these young kids, they're making money hand over fist doing something that nobody thought they'd be able to do. Making money playing video games. It's big business. They get a phone, they sit down, and they play the game, and they tell you some things on how to play the game better. And people subscribe to their channels hand over fist. There's a 14-year-old right now making $2.5 million. I said, what did I do wrong as a parent? Hold on, 2.5 million. But that's because he recognized what was in him. The thing that everybody else would look at and say, no, you can't do. What's he talking about? He did because it was in him to do, and look at the result. Now, if we took that same principle and applied it spiritually, what's in you that you don't think can be done that God's saying do that you ain't done yet? What's in you that needs to come out of you to be planted in the earth and become fruit? Moses, what's in your hand is not about the rod. It's about God trying to get him to recognize what's in him, that he can unlock it from outside of him. We know the rest of the story of Moses. He went through, did everything God said he did. Now, did he not deliver the people out of Egypt? Yes. The very thing he didn't think he could do? Yes. Because he stepped into the potential that he was born and bred for. Yes. He stepped into the thing and walked out the thing that he was called to do, the thing that God said, I planted in you before the foundation of the world. Yes. That's you. Amen. Amen. That's you. Amen. So for 2019, before you get into 2019, yes, you need to start looking at your potential. Yes. And make yourself a plan. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. Write the vision, write it down. Amen. What are you going to try in 2019 to unlock what's in you? Yes, Lord. What thing are you going to try that you haven't tried before? What thing are you going to finish that you started in 2018, 2017, but never finished because you didn't think it was any good? My God. What are you going to do? Because whatever you do, God said, I'm going to use that to start unlocking your potential to do what I called you to do. Amen? Amen. Stand to your feet. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. To me, this word was a word of direction and instruction for the body of Christ. Amen. That we start examining those four aspects that God gave of things we need to recognize. That we can do what God has called us to do. Just as the man of God said, both individually and corporately. Yes. Do you understand? The Bible says that everything you need is in your own vineyard. So everything that God has given for the man of God to do for this place is already here. Amen. It's already here. Yeah, we would like some more people, and God's going to increase, but it's already here. The problem isn't in the ability to do it. As he said, the problem is in our availability to do it. Amen. Because we have not recognized our potential. I challenge you. Start to recognize what God's placed in you. Amen. Take that key and unlock it. Walk through that door unapologetically, unashamedly, unreservedly. Walk through that door and realize the potential that God has given to you. Amen. Otherwise, you just stay in a place of unrealized potential. But I promise you, that's a dangerous place. Amen. Father, in the name of Jesus, first of all, we thank you, we praise you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do, God, simply because of who you are. Now, God, in the name of Jesus, God, help us to seek you, to truly seek you and recognizing our potential. God, help us. God, as we recognize what we have, what you've placed on the inside of us, as we recognize who we are and whose we are, as we recognize, God, that if you gave us to do it, we can do it. Help us to hear from you and be obedient to you that we can do it. You've empowered us to do it. You've given us direction to do it. You've given us the authority to do it. Now, God, all we have to do is do it.
Yes, Lord.
Give us the will, God, to change our lives and change the lives of everyone in our sphere of influence. God, allow these messages that have come forth over the last few months, oh God, from the man of God himself, God, allow them to resonate in our spirits as we transition from 2018 into 2019. We take them from just being heard words to action-based words. That we would do all according to your will and everything that you asked us to do. Father God, in the name of Jesus, move upon our lives. Move upon our wills. And just as you did unto Moses, ask us, God, what's in us. Force us, oh God, to recognize what we have, that we may be obedient to your will. Touch us and anoint like never before. Now, God, because you've gone ahead of us and given us victory, God, I'll be so careful to give them all the glory, all of the honor, and all the praise in Jesus.